Morning everyone, it's Lucy Clark again from Mind Food. Welcome back. So last week in our Growing Wellbeing video we talked about the 5 ways to well-being. So there are 5 things that you can do every day that help improve your well-being, and just to go over them again, they were taking notice of life in the present, and not spending too much time worrying about the past or thinking about the future. The second one was staying connected, and that was keeping up with friends and family and connecting with your community and your environment. The third one was about being as active as you can be. The fourth one is keeping on learning and trying new things. And then the fifth one was about giving and small acts of kindness. Now, the first of those was about taking notice. So we left you with a couple of exercises that were about taking notice of the present. And that is essentially the nub of mindfulness. So the exercises we gave you were to check in on how you're feeling 3 times a day, just to see if there's any pattern there. And then the second exercise was one that we called Senses 1, 2, 3, which was about coming back to focusing on your senses to bring you back to now, because you can only sense things in the present. So so the exercise went along the lines of looking out for 3 things that were as different as possible from each other. And then the second sense we came to was about listening, and that was about listening out for sounds at different distances away. And then the third one was about a sense of touch and feeling for 3 different textures around you, or even 3 textures or feelings without moving a muscle. So hopefully that'll give you an idea of how easy it is to grab yourself a mindful moment. But if you still need some kind of persuading about mindfulness, which frankly a lot of people do, and I was one of those people myself, there's a lot of scientific evidence about how the whole thing works. It doesn't have to be something that's sort of very wafty or hippie. It's actually a good workout for your brain, and as such, you'll be surprised, I think, to learn that you can actually feel like you've got more time and space around you. You can feel more rested, and you're actually able to make better decisions because your brain isn't so crowded with unnecessary thoughts. And you actually feel less busy, even when you've technically got more on your plate, which is a great thing to be able to access when you need it. And the science behind this is really that if you're worrying a lot, you've entered a state of hypervigilance. So that means you're in a perpetual state of high alert. Your whole being is in a state of emergency, and that's kind of become your autopilot. And that all happens in the part of your brain called the amygdala, which regulates emotions and reactions. It's your fight or flight kind of center, and that's the part of your brain that lets another part of your brain know to create stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and to really get those pumping for you. Now the problem is, the more you do this, the more you worry, the more you'll be your amygdala will decide it's useful to give you more of these stress hormones. So you're kind of in a bit of a vicious cycle there. And what you really need to do with mindfulness, or what mindfulness is really good at doing, is working out the part of your brain which is like the manual override. And that's a really key thing, really, because it means that you're able to grab yourself a second to look around and say, actually, there's nothing to see here. We don't have an emergency here and now that I need to respond to. Actually, if I need some time off all my busy thinking, maybe I'll just give myself a couple of minutes now. And it's not to say worrying or thinking about how to tackle emergency situations isn't important. It really is. But by working out by practicing mindfulness, you're actually giving yourself a better chance of making good decisions when an emergency comes along. So the way mindfulness works is that it gives you the ability to look at your thoughts in such a way that you don't get carried away by them, and the best way to practice mindfulness is to have a go at meditation. Now I know that that's not everybody's cup of tea, but actually what you'll find is the more that you practice it, the more you'll feel able to make time for it, and the better you'll feel. Nobody tries these things without, wanting something back from them. But I think, I really promise you that mindfulness will really pay very high returns in the long run. And really, it's about putting in the work. Or the rest actually, when you can, so that you've got it to draw on an emergency. Now, the person that we talk about at Mind Food the most probably is a man called Mark Williams, and he's a professor of psychology at Oxford and also a world expert in mindfulness. And we think he's great because he has lots of guided meditations on YouTube that are free to access. He also wrote a book with Danny Penman called Finding Peace in a Frantic World, and this is all about mindfulness, and they're very, very good at explaining how it's all about the practice. It's not about getting things right. It's about having a go and keeping on having a go. And I think, quite apart from the fact that Mark Williams has a voice that's just like Oliver Postgate, who narrated Bagpuss and has a generally settling manner about him, he's very good at recognising that when you're having a go at mindfulness, it's very easy for your thoughts to wander, and the way he tackles that in the guided meditations is so helpful and encouraging and reassuring that you can't help but want to keep on practicing. And what you'll find as you do more of the mindfulness meditations and practicing, you'll find that you have good days and bad days, and there's not necessarily anything that you can do about it. Sometimes if I have a mindfulness meditation where I feel very, very distracted, I might have a second go, almost as if the first one hadn't touched the sides, and that's when you really feel the benefit. Is when you start to slow down. It can be very good to keep going with it, almost riding the crest of the wave, or so it's just worth keeping on trying, and to that end, it's actually a very good idea to have a practice of mindfulness at the beginning of the day, before the bustle of the day really starts, and also using mindfulness at the end of a day to start settling down your mind, ready for sleep. And I'm very sure that you're not all going to race off and do mindfulness on the back of this. So what I want to leave you with is just the thought that you can try practicing mindfulness in a million different ways and incorporating mindfulness into your day. So that might be about literally anything that you do day in, day out. It's about actually paying attention to those, trying to kind of break that autopilot moment with some more sort of focused thinking. So that might be when you're brushing your teeth, it might be when you're doing the dishes, it could be when you're peeling some vegetables, particular favourite of mine, and once you find you're able to settle your thoughts that way, then I think you're going to be more likely want to have a go at having a go at a mindfulness exercise. And I think it has to be said that if you are feeling like you're too busy to do mindfulness, then mindfulness meditation is easily the most time-effective way of settling your thoughts. You don't have to find, an hour for a little sleep. You don't have to find a quiet moment to listen to some music or to read a book. It's something that you can do literally any time of day, and if you access some of the guided mindfulness meditations that we're going to suggest, there are some of the exercises are only 3 minutes long, so being able to settle a busy brain in 3 minutes is just magic. So we're going to post a little link for Mark Williams' Mark Williams' mindfulness meditation straight after this, and I hope you will give it a go. It has to be said that, because mindfulness is quite a personal thing, you might find that you want to try listening to there are lots of different approaches. So even if Mark Williams isn't for you, there are other great guided mindfulness sessions online. So Naomi Goodlett is a good one to suggest. She does a lot of nature-based ones, which we'll probably post a link to as well. So if you wanted a female voice, and of course you can access the mindfulness meditations in any language as well. So really find what works for you on this. And I hope you enjoyed. So that's really it for the session today. I hope you enjoyed it. A bit of a ramble probably, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll like or love or share or follow us on Facebook. But most important is to share this with people who you think might benefit. So thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.